everybody. Welcome back to another awesome episode of the Red, White, and You Show with yours truly, the Military Medium. Today, I have a husband and wife team with me, Donna and Tintu Parameswar. I think I got it right. Was that right, guys?
So you did.
Hey, pretty close. Close enough. Close enough for government work, as we'll say. So Donna and Tintu, they're a husband and wife team, and they are the CEO and the COO of Operation Decisive Victory. And when I saw their organization and what they're doing for veterans and first responders and everybody else come across social media, I was like, oh my God, these folks need to be on the show. They're just changing lives. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So share with the listeners and the viewers a little bit who Donna and Tintu is, but more importantly, what is Operation Decisive Victory and how did that come about?
So I'll start off with what is Operation Decisive Victory, and then I'll let you continue with how did it come about. How does that sound?
That works.
So Operation Decisive Victory, we got the name from the terminology Decisive Victory, which is a military terminology that identifies the end of a battle, that where that battle is victorious. And in order to move on to the next phase of that battle, we have to finish that one phase and we have to be victorious in it. And that's where this organization came from. We realized that life is filled with a lot of different battles, and every single day can be a struggle. Every single day can be considered a battle. And we have to have a hope to find the victory, the decisive victories in every single day that gives us the hope to go on to the next day. And that's where ODV came from, and it was a personal journey of ours from 2016 that led to the foundation or the formation of this organization in 2018. So I'll let you continue with that story.
As Donna was saying, the decisive victories, we associated that with the struggles in life, and for most veterans, especially veterans with disabilities or challenges of transitioning back to the civilian world, it's making it every day that counts. I need to make it one more day, one more step, and I'll figure this out. And again, veterans are hard-headed, so of course we want to try and figure everything out on our own. But we took that term and said, veterans struggle on a daily basis. There's big organizations solving big problems, but very few that look at the small everyday challenges that veterans face, that really they just need some assurance today that tomorrow will come. There's organizations for houses, horses, cars, you name it. But when it comes to small struggles, hey, I don't know how to deal with this problem, or I'm about to be unable to pay my rent. I don't have power. I don't have money to put gas in my car, and I can't go to work now. So the small things that impact the veteran's life were the things that we realized. And as Donna mentioned, that personal journey took us on that path to that realization. That personal journey involved, my transition into the civilian world, my struggle to reintegrate, my struggle of letting go of the military. I was supposed to be a lifer for the military, do 20 years, and hopefully become the next top thing since sliced bread in the military. That was, again, the childhood dream of mine, and that was cut short, unfortunately. So that transition was a little bit more difficult than I expected, because my plan was 20 years, 22 years, 30 maybe. I don't know. I'll get out and buy a yacht. Whatever, senior enlisted guys and everybody dream about is what was on my mind. But the struggle became hard. Transition was hard. Again, when we leave service, we leave an environment that we're so accustomed to. And the civilian world is just not prepared or not structured to give you that ease transition into the world. So medical treatments, therapy, physical therapy, things like that all started to come in. Things were getting better. But we realized that city life wasn't for me anymore. I needed somewhere I can, be mentally calm, emotionally stable, focus on me, focus on the family. Coming out to North Carolina from California, that was a huge difference. That's exactly what we needed. However, we came across a personal barrier, discrimination and certain ways of people's approaches to veterans. It still exists today, not as much as we would like to appreciate it, not everyone in America appreciates our veterans or the wars the wounds that we bear for the freedoms we have today. And naturally, as a veteran, what we do is we reach out to our own community. When we were involved in this situation, we were knocking on doors of all the organizations I was a member of.
Local, state level, federal level, we would just go down lists of just typing in veteran organizations, finding them, calling them.
Yeah, we, every organization we're a member of, we talked to every organization we weren't members of, we talked to. And what we realized very quickly was my invoice comes in every month for my dues. But when I asked for guidance, an excuse was a lot quicker than that invoice. We sat back, we whined about it for a little while. We marinated in the sorrows, woes me for a little while. And then we realized, listen, if we're going through something like this and we still have the means of making it to tomorrow, we're just asking for guidance. I wonder how hard it could be for a vet that does not have what we have right now to make it to the next day, or convince him or herself, okay, tomorrow might be a little better, or one day this struggle will end. And that realization was where we said, all right, let's not sit here and complain about what is not working for us. How about we put something in place so that other people, other veterans and their families, first responders, don't have to experience what we experienced, or the intensity of what we experienced, or even going down the path. Even if you have to experience it, let us be by your side so you don't feel alone in the process.
Because we didn't have anybody to hold our hands when we needed it. So we want to be that hope, that beacon of hope for other families to say, all right, there's this one organization that we can call and they will respond and they will hold our hands through it to the next day.
That's the origin of Operation Decisive Victory.
So out of a need, really, of where you're, if I could summarize, is basically where you found yourself kind of falling through the cracks of getting the help that you needed, right?
Absolutely.
And saying, when you everybody has their hand out, but when you turn around and ask for the help, you found empty pockets in a sense, right?
We didn't fit any of their criteria. So he goes to all his appointments. He gets treatment from the VA. He's good about it. I work. We sustain our world, and we're trying really hard to integrate back into society and be normal functioning members of society. So when others look at us, they don't see missing limbs. They don't see financial struggles. They don't see the hardships that a typical family would. And the sad truth is, you have to show some signs of weakness for them to come in and rescue you, for them to come in and save. And that's the mentality. It's the reactive mentality of society today that got us to thinking that, hey, there are a whole bunch of us. If it's happening to us, it's happening to others. There's a whole bunch of us that are probably falling through the cracks, and we need an organization to stand up and say, here, we're here to catch you. And we can help where we can, and we will work with other organizations to help. So when, like Tintu was saying earlier, when we made all those phone calls, it was either voicemails that were never returned, or they would pick up and say, yeah, no, we don't do that. Our organization doesn't do that. Or, you need to be disabled for us to assist, or you need to be a 9/11 veteran or a Vietnam veteran for us to assist. So there were so many different criteria that it just didn't make sense. Why? There are so many veterans in this country that haven't done combat, that don't have combat-related injuries, that are being turned away for various things, right? So
Right.
we have all these different organizations, federally funded. We have VA, we have private institutions, and yet we still have families that are falling through the cracks, and that's where we come in. We want to be able to catch that family and to say, it's okay, we understand.
So how long was it, Donna, from when you guys saw Tintu, was talking about, you guys saw this need and you said, hey, if we're in this boat, we know that there's other folks, but we kind of have the means to get through the next day, right? Tomorrow, we know we're going to be all right tomorrow. How long did it take you guys from the time that you identified a need and said, hey, we think that starting an organization, we're not sure what we call it, maybe whatever, would be a great thing to identify, or, help. And from the time that you identified it to the time that it was all said and done and up and operating, how long did that, in reality, because I want to give everybody a real
So
picture of that.
in reality, I would say, Tintu was medically retired in 2014. Between 2014 and summer of 2017, we had our struggles. Like we understood what social security disability is like. We understood what getting treatment and getting out of the Marine Corps, being integrated into civilian society, all that stuff. We understood the different the nuances that come into play there. But in 2017 is when we were really thrown against the wall and truly had to see what the systems we have in place that are meant to protect our community, our veteran community, or community in general. Those systems were failing us. And one by one, we just start, okay, the law enforcement can't help, or the justice system can't help, or they're not in our favor, or the VA cannot help, or all these different organizations cannot help. One by one, when we start identifying from a federal to a local level of who cannot help us, it was serious desperation for us. I just remember sitting at his feet and crying because I didn't know what the next step would be. So I would say, in reality, considering there was a 2014 when he was retired, I would still say from 2017, summer of 2017, is when it truly started, our journey truly started. So July of 2017 to August of 2018 is when we incorporated our organization.
Okay.
So it took about a year for us to like Tintu was saying, we marinated in that sorrows. We were depressed. We let it get to us. It was eating us alive, so we were destroying ourselves because we did not understand.
But you guys went through a 3-year journey. There's 3 years there from the time you were medically retired to the time that you were like, hey, we're going through this crap. I bet you other people are too. And, starting to figure out how to navigate the mess, right? And who can actually help or who can't.
Yeah. So
that takes quite a while.
It does, but even in a 3-year journey, a lot of that we think, oh, we can handle this.
Right.
People go through it, it's okay. But when we, like I said, when the legal aspect kicked in for us is when we truly understood that some things we just can't do by ourselves. We need
Right.
others to kind of guide us. We weren't asking for financial assistance. We weren't asking for anything else but just guidance. So someone to hold our hands and say it's okay, because I always say this, in the military, service members have each other to rely on. The families have each other to rely on. In the civilian community, who do we rely on? And then the first thing we did, which was what was normal to us, was to reach out to our brothers and sisters and our family members, and they couldn't help us. So it just made sense to stand up an organization that would do just that would hold hands and figure it out with the families.
So here we are, a number of years later, and, dealing with, did you guys ever fathom how the organization, ODV, would have progressed and grown and evolved over these years, like as far as the issues that you guys have helped in?
My answer would be no. Did you have an idea?
To be honest, I would have never, I never did consider getting into any sort of charity work. I was a business kid, so my goal was to go out, do consulting work, fly on private jets, make lots of money. Never looked back at my service. Though I missed it, I never would have thought I would have entered the field of caring for my own after service. And then the cases that come across, the veterans, that the families and the vets and the first responders we handle, really drew us back into it and every day, every case we handle, it reinforces that, listen, what you're doing is just not enough. There's more to do. Keep going. There's more to do. So yeah, I mean, I don't think we thought the organization would be where it is today. Have the support. We have a great team in place. And everyone is a volunteer within the organization. No one from the board down to the client service or the case managers don't get paid. And they put in normal working hours, and they have a full-time job on the side, and they come back and take care of our vets. So where we are is progressed.
So ODV is a full-fledged 501c nonprofit,
Yes.
correct? And let me ask you, do you guys have the numbers from the time that you're actually stood up as a nonprofit to maybe this year? Do you guys have maybe how many veterans that you've been able to help and get some guidance?
Yeah, 2019, we closed out 2019 with 64 veteran families and first responders assisted among 13 states.
Wow, that's so cool. You know, Tintu, you brought up, you said a great thing on the tail end of that. And 13 states. A lot of people say, you know, regardless of where you're physically located, that doesn't confine your reach, right?
Right.
You help veterans and first responders and folks regardless of where they live. And I love that fact of that it's not, you know, confined to one location saying, well, we don't go outside the borders, or it's just within the states, in which I understand that if there's organizations out there that only do that. But at the same time, I applaud you guys for, you know, thinking bigger, right? Saying, well, there's more than just us there's people that live outside our state, you know.
And we always talk about it within our team. We're here to change the culture and change the mindset.
Nice.
Health is not about a zip code. It's not about a state boundary.
Love that.
While people, we have to make sure that, the local community gives us money, and we have to utilize it for the veterans in that community. But as a private organization, we can take that further. We get donations from individuals and businesses, and that is helping folks across the nation. And so that's what we're here for. As an organization, we want to change that culture and mindset of how we help, and when we help, and who we help.
Well, Donna, I want to take you back a little bit. You mentioned something early on in the interview talking about when you guys first initially went to get some guidance or some help, right? And different organizations had different stipulations. And for the most part, you had to be broke. You had to be in some way, spiritually, emotionally, financially, you had to show, something. And as far as you guys were just asking for some guidance, but, I wanted to focus on something because, again, it goes back to the label of, there's so many people that believe that just because you're dealing with PTSD, TBI, regardless what you're dealing with, depression, I don't care what you're dealing with, that you have to be broken.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about being broken. It's just about dealing with some challenges. It doesn't and I love how you bring up, and I wanted to tie this into what you just said, changing the culture and understanding of what this is. Just because a service member or a first responder is dealing with whatever, it does not mean that they are broken or they're effed up or they're less than. They're just going through some challenges in life. And why should an individual or individuals have to show extreme duress in order to receive help?
That's right.
Right? I just think in a military term too, is anytime you go out, and Tintu, I don't know your background in the Marine Corps, but I know in the Army I was infantry, right? And I was a staff sergeant when I was in Afghanistan. And I remember being on combat patrols. And anytime you needed air support or, artillery strikes or whatever, You didn't have to be in extreme duress. Of course, that would help. But if you called in for fire, the support was there. Your support assets were there. They were in place, right? And so when we think about that, is saying, you know, in the military, we go through that everybody's one team, regardless of, you know, regardless of branch, regardless of whatever. And, you know, it's interesting that when we get out of the military, then it's just all forgotten about except to the service member. And it's like, so I love it. Again, I just want to go back to what Donna was saying about changing the narrative, changing the way, the culture, the way people think about it. And I love the aspect when I was reading and about you guys about, you know, the advocacy work and kind of, and a lot of people don't realize, well, advocacy is somebody to stand up. Yeah, but it's also that hand holder a little bit and saying, hey, do we need to help walk you through a few steps and saying, here's some challenges we had, and a little bit of mentorship. Doesn't mean that you have to have all the answers, but somebody there to check, you know, like a buddy check, right? You know, it's like your battle buddy. And so it's, I just think that's so cool. So share with us, I know some things that you guys are really passionate about. I mean, all things veteran, and first of all, where do you stop? Where do you draw the line? But something that's near and dear to your heart that's recently going on is the homelessness
Yeah.
issue going on with veterans and everything. So why don't you guys share a little bit about that and what ODV is doing on that initiative?
Okay. So for the homeless prevention, what we've understood homeless prevention to be is everyone talks about it, but it's usually geared towards the folks that are on the streets. Even with the folks on the streets, no one's asking how they got there. We have programs to get them into a home, but nothing to make sure that they are sustaining that home. If they're employable, if they have income, you know, no one's checking in on that, right? So our approach to homeless prevention is a little broader than what you would hear in the media. And where we're coming in and saying, all right, what can we do? What proactive measures can we take to ensure that a family does not get to the point of getting on the streets? So if it's like Tintu was mentioning earlier, there's bills to pay, there's eviction notices. You know, for folks that are on the brim of becoming homeless, we step in and find that solution that would work with that family. For those that are on the streets, we, you know, house them in hotels until the VA can kick in or until other organizations can come in and get them the home. Other programs can kick in and get them the home that they need. So we're looking at a holistic approach as far as the individual is concerned, not necessarily what the issue is.
Mm.
So you wanna elaborate on?
Yeah, you know, a perfect example of that would be we had a veteran last year that was about to lose his job. If he loses his job, he can't pay for his rent. The problem with the reason he's going to lose his job is his car broke down. The car broke down. It needed a major repair, which is in a couple of thousands of dollars, and that would be his rent payment, his food money. So it's one or the other is what they would have to give up. Either way, they're in a losing end. So how we stepped in is we assessed the situation. Okay, why are you going to lose your job? Oh, because my vehicle broke down. Why can't you fix your vehicle? Because if I pay my vehicle, I'll be without a house. Okay, now we identified the problem. The vehicle's extremely old. It needs a repair. Is it feasible to repair this vehicle and put it back into working condition? Or is it better for us to consider alternative options at this point? We found a local mechanic. We spoke with them. They were willing to do it for a very extremely low price for us because it was a veteran family we were trying to assist and they wanted to do something good. And we were able to solve the root cause of the problem, which was, hey, this vehicle wasn't maintained because of lower financial priorities and it's an older vehicle. This should have been maintained sooner, but because of priorities, they don't get to it. So let's prevent him from losing his job, which will prevent him from losing his house, which will prevent him from putting his family out on the street. That's our efforts and our hope in being able to reduce our homelessness amongst the veteran population. And I'm aware that we're not going to eliminate it. It's a reality in some communities. It's a choice for some veterans. They feel safer that way. They feel less of a burden on their families. So they choose to live the way they do. However, there are enough organizations around the United States that cater to and work with the homeless veteran population. But as we mentioned earlier, they work within their geographical boundaries. And our goal is to network with those organizations, break them out of that mindset of that geographical boundary and say, listen, it doesn't matter if it's in your backyard or across the country. If we can connect with someone there, someone in that area, and we can get the resources to that veteran, we'll be able to keep him or her off the street. Unfortunately, like Donna mentioned, most solutions we have in place are reactive measures, and they're quick fixes. And the quick fixes are not worth the effort that most organizations put out. A veteran doesn't have money to pay his light bill. Okay, I'll pay your light bill. You're not asking why he doesn't have money to pay his light bill. It's because he doesn't have a job. So this organization, A, pays for his light bill, and then the next month, again, this veteran is still looking for a job. Instead of veteran organization A paying for the bill and putting resources out to get him employed. So we're not really, as a nation, we're not solving problems. We're just masking it and turning the other way, going, okay, I hope I don't see that again.
That's the way, isn't it? Powder your feet, take some motor, and move out. It's like quit whining. It's like just get rid of the issue and just make a quick fix. And unfortunately, that's all too common for a lot of things. Instead of getting to the root cause, right? I love, Tintu, how you brought up, because I was going to say, you were talking about the vehicle scenario, and I love how you said that you guys network with other veteran organizations that are willing to work with you guys. Because I was going to ask, because I have had the pleasure of interviewing some other great organizations across the country that not only work on vehicles, but they do a whole host of other stuff, right? And but the thing is some of them don't network. Either they're too busy to do it, they don't have enough people to take time to reach out, or even know that organizations such like yourself are out there or whatever. They're just kind of busy, they're overwhelmed, right? Speaking of that, do you guys, so you were talking about caseloads and helping folks. Now, is it just you two primarily, or are there other volunteers that take on cases and then work with them? How does the process, for example, if I was to approach you with the issue or challenge, how does that process go?
So that falls under our client services side of the house. We don't call them caseworkers. We call them client service advisors. What happens is there's a couple of ways in which a resource is brought to us, or a veteran is brought to us. In your case, you self-refer. You had to go on the website or give us a call. That call or that notification from the website goes to the director of client services. He or she manages a team of client service advisor volunteers. The purpose of having that team is to make sure that when you contact that person or that department, you're not getting a different person every time and retelling your story, trying to convince the person to help you. You're going to build that relationship with one client service advisor from the moment your case is open all the way to the time it's closed. The only other person within the organization you will speak to would be the director if there's some validation and document information we need to collect extra from. But we have a 72-hour time frame. Over 85, I would say about 88% of our cases, we're able to close within 72 hours.
Wow.
So when a veteran has reached out to us, the organization's policy is that client service advisors must reach out to that veteran within 24 hours. So the moment we get that stamped at 1 a.m., they have 24 hours from that point to get a hold of this veteran. Once we've spoken with the veteran, we do a very thorough intake process. The intake process is, I oftentimes compare it to the application process for VA benefits. We ask a lot of questions. We collect a lot of information, and it's not for any other purpose other than for us to identify if there's any other help we can get this vet. Okay, we understand you're coming to us for this problem, but you also have this. You may not realize it because you're overwhelmed by the bigger problem there. But once we solve the bigger problem, this is going to become your next big problem. So our intake process allows us to identify problems that exist that the vet may be not aware of. It also gives us the opportunity to assess the different resources we can tap into. Oh, this veteran has a Purple Heart. Okay, there's a couple of organizations that cater specifically to veterans with Purple Hearts. Those are the first doors I need to knock on. Or this veteran is 100% disabled, total and permanent. There's a resource that we have that we can reach out for that. So we're not knocking on random doors, but we're strategically reaching out to our resources and partnering with those resources consistently. Once the intake process is done, we give the veteran typically 24 hours. And again, for most of us today, we have our DD-214 and ID, digitally available, or we have scanners and copiers within reach. So we always ask our veterans to provide documents within 24 hours. We give them that time to locate and find it and provide it to us. Once the documentations, the identifying documentations and any bills or whatever supporting documents they may provide us is received, the director and that client service advisor appointed to that veteran will begin formulating the plan on how to best resolve the situation. So they sit and start a timeline. Okay, here's what we can do from point A to point B. Here are the problems that exist for this veteran. What are the priorities of the problems? Because solving any problem and saying, okay, I fixed this doesn't matter. We have to prioritize the problems as well. That way we're able to address each and every issue that the veteran may have, and then actually provide the veteran a timeline going, hey, here are the possibilities. We can solve this in a month, 2 months, 6 months, 9 months, whatever it may be. I'm able to give that veteran a realistic number, something he can look forward to or consider and keep in his heart and say, okay, it's going to get better. There's somebody working to make it better. But again, like I said, about 85 to 88% of our cases, we close out by that 72-hour mark. By that third day when the veteran contacting us, we would have the initial resolution for that problem in place already. The other times that we would delay is if there's major projects that are out of our control. But again, our client services team and the director of client services, they do an amazing job when it comes to maintaining communication with the client, making sure everything is collected and documented properly. And they dedicate their time to making sure that even if it's an hour they spend, that 1 hour was truly spent productively for that veteran. They're not clocking in, clocking out. As I mentioned earlier, none of our staff are paid. Most of them have full-time jobs, families, and they come back and pick up our client services side of the house. So to them, there's value in what they do because they see the results. They see the need. But ideally, we have that 72-hour time frame to solve our problems.
Is there your client service reps? Are they school trained, or is that something that a process that you guys have found through trial and error, or how does that work?
Originally, I was the only person managing clients. When we started, it was just the two of us. And then a couple of team members came on board with us to help us with the other side of the house, but dealing with the veterans was primarily myself and Donna. So what I did was I started documenting everything we were going through, processes, steps, flaws, errors we made, miscalculations, whatever it was. 1 year's worth of experience running the department of maintaining clients and managing clients, working with other organizations. We were able to put a solid standard operating procedure in place in writing. So now we took that standard operating procedure, made them into training modules. So anytime we have a new volunteer come in, we're training them within the organization. So myself from ops and my chief programs officer, we would spend time training this client service advisor before they actually even answer the first phone call. So we built a training module that trains them, PowerPoint, of course. We use Microsoft platforms for communication and managing clients. So we have a dummy environment created just to train them for a whole week.
Oh, wow.
Before we actually put them to work.
And I also have to add our entire team, while we're all volunteers, we're also all military families. So we have service members, we have siblings, military brats, spouses. So we wanted to make sure that the folks at the other end of the phone understand what our veterans are calling in with. It's not just someone who absolutely has no experience with the veteran community.
Sure.
Answering those phone calls. So we wanted to make sure that, everybody has a story, right? So they can say, yeah, I understand, we've been there, here's how we can help.
And that's such a common thing as veterans we hear is, oh, I understand.
Right.
for the most part, you consider the bigger organizations that have call centers and they're staffed with paid members at remote work, whatever it may be. There's not that specific criteria. You have to be a veteran or you have to be a veteran spouse. It's not a form of discrimination for us, but it's a form of loyalty for us. When one of my client service advisors says to a veteran, "I understand," it needs to mean something. It has to be genuine. It should not be a script. It should not be, this is what I'm supposed to say, so I'm going to just say it. Instead, we put people in places that can actually say that and have that true impact for that person at the other end of the phone, like Donna said.
And the other thing I wanted to add about the process we have in place, sending to our window, when we talk to people in our own journey, we didn't get phone calls back for another 2 weeks. We would submit paperwork, or if we requested anything, it would be an email, paper, or whatever. We won't hear from them for another 10 days, 15 days. And that causes heartache. You have a big problem on your lap, and here you're reaching out to organizations to not hear from anybody. So our goal, as when we develop that protocol of how we're going to handle our client services, that's exactly what we thought. We thought about all the different scenarios that we've been through, we've heard stories of, and then we also, like Tintu said, we collected the data from the last 1 year of what kind of resources we had to reach out to, who reached out to us, and all the different nuances that came with that, or the conversation that came with that, is what we put together in that procedure. So it's been working great for the organization. I'm very proud of that team because they really do hard work.
Very cool. It's just a testament to the people that are volunteering their time to help the veterans, and not just veterans, but first responders and everybody else that you guys serve. And why don't you speak to that a little bit? The how do I want to say, the client audience that you guys help. I know we're looking at first responders, veterans, but who do you guys help?
Okay, so we help primarily. We call ourselves a veteran services organization. We primarily help our veterans and our veteran families. So in absolute transparency, the idea was to focus on our veteran community because that's the community we belong to. And then in 5 years, our 5-year plan would be to establish that and then grow into the first responder community, because we started hearing stories that they have similar struggles, especially in the mental health arena. So that's where we kicked it off. And then within 3 months of opening our doors, we got our first EMT to support. And so right now what we're doing is we have programs, all of our programs that you see on the website and that you've discussed so far are for our veteran families. For our first responders, we are focusing just on the mental health support piece of it for now. So we were, as we were talking to folks, we realized that in the first responder community, they can't talk about their mental health as freely as our veteran community can. They don't get as much of the help as much as our veterans do. Their jobs are on the line if they start talking about needing help for PTSD and things like that, of what they've seen, stuff like that. So what we're here to do is provide that alternative solution for them, that alternative support. So we can help them and get them the therapy or get them the services that they need to support their mental health. And so for our first responder community, that's exactly what we're looking for right now. Looking at is the mental health.
Okay. Talk a little bit about the path, support groups and different things like that, but how that helps out and what that is.
So PATH, our Peer Assisted Transition and Healing program, was originally designed to be a fellowship group where peers meet, we help each other out, understand our situations, spouses, children can meet one another, congregate within our own community, just like we have in the fleet or active services. That actually evolved once we approached that point where we were addressing veteran homelessness. So right now, ODV is in the process of developing PATH as a center. And what we intend on doing is it's going to be a 90-day stay facility for veterans, where we take them off the streets, house them for 90 days, and in those 90 days, our team and that dedicated client service advisor, whoever's going to be appointed to that veteran, will get the veteran connected to all the community resources, all the government resources they need, help them get into houses, feed them, house them, and provide them the opportunities they're missing while they're on those streets. And our goal is by the 90-day window, when we walk them out those doors, that they are capable of self-sustaining, they're capable of starting fresh, and they've been given that hand up, not a hand out, but a hand up, because that's what our veterans need when they fall down. I mean, that's our initial reaction, even on a PT hike. We're on a hike, one of our brothers dropped down, and we immediately reach down to grab him up. But we don't want to do that here. Instead, we pass a pill and say, okay, here, swallow this, take this, it'll make your life all better. So that's what the path is evolving to be. And what we are intending on doing is hosting other organizations within our facility that are willing to partner with us, whether it be state agencies, county agencies, other veteran organizations. If you are a service provider and you're willing to provide services to the veterans we bring through that building, we're willing to offer space for them. That way, that veteran, specifically the homeless ones, you have your VA 10 miles from where he sleeps. Then you have a CBOC, which is another 25 miles from where he is. He needs to go there. Then, of course, QTC needs to do an evaluation of this guy. So now he's got to be sent, 30 miles south. How do you expect a veteran that doesn't even have a home to meet those appointments? Of course, they're going to default those appointments. Of course, they're going to miss them, and they're not going to get the opportunity to be checked out and checked in. So in our case, all the resources that we could possibly give our veteran, we want to have it in a centralized location. So when these homeless veterans come in, we're able to house them, feed them, clothe them, and get them connected to the right resources before we walk them out the door. The center will also serve as the original concept of PATH, which was that peer group, where our first responders, we're actually building our first responder counseling team right now, that they would meet and they have their arena to speak and share their stories. And again, that peer experience, I hear it a lot of times from a lot of different veterans, I don't want to talk to doctors. There's a reason why. We have this thought in our head that they don't understand the emotions behind what we feel. That they only understand the psychology behind what we feel. And it's a lot easier for me to listen to one of my fellow brothers, that have been there, that have experienced it, or for Donna to hear another spouse going, I don't know what to do with my husband. He's extremely rude when he gets upset, and he can go off like this, or he smashes things. And Donna can say, listen, there's a reason why he's doing it. Let's sit down and share our experiences. And that matters. That matters in the healing process, because that spouse doesn't have any resources in town that understands what it's like to deal with, a veteran with PTSD, because that civilian wife will probably never understand what her feelings are. And the same thing with our first responders. We want to provide them a venue where they can come share and not have to worry about consequences, because they're sharing amongst one another. They're not documenting this. They're not sending it off to the police department or the chief and say, hey, you guy just came in here asking for mental health help, and he has to ride the desk for the rest of his career. So we want to provide that safety, whatever it is that we can provide for these members of our community that do so much and get back so little. And what they're asking for in return is really not much. They just need a hand up in life. We want to have facilities that have a shower and a chow hall where, if a homeless veteran, like I mentioned earlier, there are vets we know that choose to live on the street. Got it. I'm okay with that. But you have a facility to come to where you can shower, you can clothe, you can wash your clothes. If you need some new clothes, we have a closet there. You can go ahead and grab some new clothes and go about your day. But a reliable, consistent resource.
Right.
That's what we want to be able to provide with the PATH.
I like that, how you ended that. Regardless of what it is, at the end of the day, a reliable resource that's there, that's helping somebody. So if somebody's out there, let's go on the other side of the coin, and the people that don't need your help, but love what you're doing. How can they help you? How can somebody help your cause, help more people? How can they do that?
The first thing I would like to say is just tell people we exist. Tell them that there is this organization that is ready to listen to you, and we'll walk you through whatever it is that you're struggling with. Secondly, we take help in every shape and size. So when people think about helping a nonprofit, they think about money. Money would be great. We have a lot of veterans that come to us for financial assistance, monthly, one-time donations, monthly occurrence. We will proudly accept donations. You can donate through our website, www.operationdv.com, or our Facebook page. There is a donate button. We take donations in the form of canned goods, in the form of clothing, in the form of furniture, because like Tintu was saying, folks that are all out there, the needs are very minimal. It's very it's a daily struggle, right? We're not talking big picture here. Sometimes all they need is a bed. Sometimes the request is for a utility bill. Sometimes it's just for diapers. We've even had that request where they are so broke that the last $20 go to gas. They just need food and formula and diapers for their baby. So the need is so different. We have folks that donate money. We have folks that donate services. They will give shops down the street, like we have an automotive shop, discounted services. We work with legal firms. We work with therapists. They all provide discounted services, and some do pro bono. So any form of whatever their heart, whatever your audience's heart tells them to do, we are looking for partners, community partners. We're looking for sponsors all across the country. We are based out of Charlotte, North Carolina, so we're headquartered here in North Carolina. But like we talked about earlier, we are working with nonprofits. We're working with private institutions and local businesses all across the country, just to make a veteran's life easier, or just to make that need, just to meet that need for that veteran.
Sure. Well, and I was just looking. Obviously, I was on your website here, and just looking at some of the ways, of course, donate, volunteer. You're always looking for volunteers. Groceries, right? You talk about canned goods and stuff, services, and then hosting events, fundraisers, goods. You talk about shoes and clothes and different things. And then you also talk about a victory lap, about if you're gonna hosting a 5K walk run, and basically kind of like you said, Donna, kind of getting the word out, right? These things are getting the word out about what Operation Decisive Victory is, number one, and what you're doing and how they can help. And I will also give the shout out too, that saying, Dean, these all sound great. But I live in I don't know. I live in California. I live in Minnesota. I live across the country. Here's the deal. Obviously you can donate on their website, but here's the other thing. Do you shop on Amazon? Most people do. You can do the Amazon Smile. And so basically they donate 5% of the price, and you just click down the drop down and you find Operation Decisive Victory. So that's through Amazon Smile. So a percentage of your purchase goes towards them. So every time you make a purchase, you can, make a little donation to them, and while you're doing your shopping. So that's another opportunity to do that.
We also do get income from corporations. So a lot of corporations.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. A lot of corporations work with their employees. If their employees volunteer for a nonprofit, the corporation will actually donate.
Nice.
They'll match that. So it's just a matter of setting up with your.
So let me ask you, Donna. So since you're talking about corporations and other organizations, and I know Tintu talked about facilities and different things, and you guys are working, got a lot of irons in the fire. If somebody is sitting out there right now and say they are in a corporation or whatever size organization, they're like, you know what, I would love to donate to them, or I would love to partner with them or do something, how do they do that?
We on the website, I believe there is a link to the events. So there are email addresses, or on our contact us page, there are phone numbers and email addresses to anything that they want, right? So if they want to do an event, there are email addresses that they can reach out to. If they need help, there's, or if they just need general information about us. So there are different ways of getting in touch with us, and they will always get someone on the phone, or they will always get a response.
And I think that's also through Team ODV at operationdv.com. Is that correct? Okay. So perfect. So yeah, make sure you go to their website and check that out. Guys, where can they find you on social media, and then also any web links that you guys have?
So on Facebook and Twitter, we are and LinkedIn, we're at Operation DV. On Instagram, we are at Operation DV 2019. So we're pretty active. Our marketing team is pretty active on social media. So that's where, you hear some of our testimony. You'll see some of our testimonies. You'll see what we're up to, our events, and even like some of the media blitz that we do. So a lot of information is pushed out on our social media. So our audience, donors and sponsors, what we're trying to do is we're trying to be as transparent as possible as a corporation to the folks that are supporting us. So our donors and sponsors are always aware of how their money was spent. We'll actually let them know which, how the family was helped or assisted with the money that they donated. So we're very transparent as far as our funds are concerned, and as far as our activities are concerned. And social media is the way we communicate to the world.
Perfect. If you go over to their website at www.operationdv.com and you click on the content or contact us button, it gives you all, like if you need client service, if you just want to get a hold of somebody, you're curious about doing an event, they got all kinds of different links. Just click the one that's appropriate to what you're looking for, and you can certainly get some feedback, and so you can start doing good things with these folks. So Donna, Tintu, thank you so much, guys, for not only being on the show today, obviously, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you for what you continue to do. Obviously, thank you for both of your service, but thank you for doing what you do, and thank you for seeing a need and having the resiliency and the fortitude to stand up in the face of adversity and stand up a great organization and to allow it to continue to survive and thrive and help others. So thanks.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely, anytime. And we look forward to seeing what you guys, what ODV continues to do here in the future. And we look forward to have you guys on in the future and kind of catch up.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, bye-bye.